Did you hear? Republicans in Congress are working with Democrats to figure out the cause of the train disaster in Ohio and fix it. I'm just kidding. Republicans are blaming the Democrats for the train disaster. And here is Florida Senator Rick Scott saying how you can avoid future disasters.
Why can politicians get away with this?
It's the voters. The voters have got to expect more out of their politicians. They've got to expect more out of people than whether they give a good speech or not when they elect them. So they've got to have higher standards. Why don't you go back? When people vote for people, say, okay, tell me your background. Have you actually gotten anything done? I mean, let's look at what people have done before they run. That's how you hire people in the private sector.
2 words, Mr. Rick Scott. I got 2 words for you. George Santos. I'm sorry, I got 4 words for you. George Santos, Anthony DeVolder. Those are all the names George Santos has, at least for now. But if the Republicans are talking about politicians that are voted in that aren't qualified, you got George Santos, you got Marjorie Taylor Greene, you've got Lauren Boebert, you had Donald Trump. Was he qualified? Not really, but he was voted in. So the Republicans are trying to blame everyone and everything for this train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. But possible corporate greed and deregulation that got us here. But again, the Republicans don't want to say that maybe it's the company's actual fault. And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene telling you whose fault it was.
But we have people like Ilhan Omar. She wants to, crack down on corporate greed when it comes to rails and the privately owned sections of rails. But really what we have to do is we have to make sure that our rails are safe.
I got news for you, Marge. You need regulation against corporate greed in order to make your rails safer. Because if you let private enterprise try to make things safer, that's not their priority. Their priority is their bottom line. It's to make money. And that's what companies like Norfolk Southern do, and they benefit from. So unfortunately, we're in a situation where we need regulation, but Republicans don't want to regulate. They just want to blame the Democrats and other people for this problem rather than actually stepping in and governing. That's the whole point of government, is to govern and set regulations so we don't have a train carrying toxic materials that then a fire is caused and is derailed, and then smoke goes out over East Palestine, which is a poor area, and the people are going to suffer environmentally, which also leads to the idea that people like Marge and her type don't want regulations for the environment. They're against the Green New Deal. They're against anything that might set some regulation on companies so that companies can't pollute the air. And now we're in phase 2, which is, Norfolk Southern is causing this pollution in the air. And again, we don't have many ways of going after them. I'm Maz Jobrani. Come see me live at a comedy show and sending, good thoughts to the people of East Palestine. And hopefully we do come together and actually champion for these people who are victims of this disaster rather than pointing fingers and saying it was because of Pete Buttigieg. Come on!